Howdy friends. Major bugs aside, Interceptor is actually an almost perfect update to No Man's Sky. It adds variation to the game, expands gameplay loops, and almost covertly continues the story players have been waiting on for years. It's more than just new starships and enemies. It demonstrates a more intentional approach to game design on Hello Games' part that I just have to talk about. I'm Kanaju, and this is why No Man's Sky Interceptor is exactly what this game needed. Since 2016, No Man's Sky has been improving through the addition of dozens of free content updates and patches. While the first 2 years saw dramatic, if sporadic, overhauls to the game, 2020 is when the more regular updates we've grown accustomed to solidified themselves as Hello Games' strategy moving forward. These more regular updates have tended to focus on adding new features to the game. However, while each update would add new stuff, a lot of it felt pretty shallow. New features often felt disconnected from the rest of the game, or in some cases, underdeveloped. This strategy changed once again though in 2022. The regular cadence we'd grown accustomed to remained, but the updates were different this time. Instead of adding potentially shallow new features, Hello Games instead began focusing on improving and expanding existing features. Each of 2022's updates took what was already in the game and made it bigger and better, more robust. And while 2023 kicked off with a bundle of quality of life updates and Fractal, it's Interceptor that feels like it's really kicking off the next chapter of core feature improvements. The Interceptor update is a beefy one. It gives us an all-new starship type, the Sentinel Interceptor, complete with a brand spanking new cockpit and more variation than we've ever seen before. And I'm not just saying that, it's Hello Games that's saying that. It gave us not one, but 2 incredible new multi-tools, gave us 2 new enemy types and reworked 2 existing enemies. It gave us a new planet type, new resources, new tech, new Nexus mission, and a new point of interest. All of this on top of plenty of other cool bonuses. I can earnestly say it's been a ton of fun to play, and may just be my favorite update since Origins, next to Sentinel that is. But why is that? What makes Interceptor better than, say, Frontiers or Companions? Well, I have a theory. Interceptor is focused on interconnected gameplay loops. But what does that mean? Well, for example, how do you get the new Sentinel starships? Well, you could just stumble upon them like any other crashed ship. However, there are 3 other ways to locate them. If you engage the new corrupted Sentinels in combat, defeating all 5 waves will automatically locate a new starship for you. You can harvest a Dreadnought AI fragment from a destroyed Sentinel Dreadnought in space, and that will ping one for you. And you can also locate a starship from the terminal at the new Harmonic camps. How do you find those new Harmonic camps? Well, the new enemies will sometimes drop something called an echolocator that can be used to find a camp. Or if you begin the new Nexus mission, you'll be guided to one at the beginning. These interlocking gameplay features are what make the new Interceptor content so engaging to me. You can begin a Nexus mission that will lead you to a new point of interest, which can then give you a new backpack and multi-tool, in addition to leading you to a new starship, plus point you in the direction of new enemies and resources. Or you could land on a dissonant world on your own, pick a fight with some Sentinels, and be given a new starship as a reward. Or maybe you fight a couple, receive an echolocator, and then flee the scene to the new camp. In other words, these features aren't just new options in a menu or a single new place to visit. They're interconnected features that lead to and from each other and can be connected in differing orders. This is what I meant by intentional game design. This interconnectivity also extends to the new corrupted planets themselves. They're not these generic static worlds like previous anomalous planets. They don't replace planets as previous infected worlds did. Instead, they quote-unquote corrupt existing worlds. That means a corrupted world could be a low-gravity moonscape or a lush tropical rainforest. We could be hunting dissonance resonators across frozen wastes or beneath erupting volcanoes. According to the patch notes, these worlds were previously home to extreme sentinels, which often included extreme weather as well. Anomalous storms, which were previously almost impossible to experience, now reward explorers of these new worlds. Some of them, of course. Seriously, though, I spent like 2 hours this week before the update was announced, just getting this storm to spawn for a video I was working on, and now it's an actual proper part of the game, which makes me happy. And again, that seems to be what Interceptor, and indeed 2022's updates in general seem to be doing, expanding the game itself, not just adding things to it. The last element Interceptor expands is the story. When Sean listed all of the main features of the new update in his announcement tweet, I was surprised to see the second item was Evolving Story. If you read the patch notes, there's a brief mention of a robotic anatomy littering the new planets. These robotic remains seem to be teasing a new race. They could be NPCs, enemies, or both. They appear to be humanoid robots constructed of parts similar to Sentinels. Now, I'm not going to dive into all my theories for what this could be leading to. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in that kind of video. But the mystery introduced in this update is stemming from lore that players have been begging Hello Games to revisit for years. The Abyss. And it's not just the autophages. The new crystal resource, Atlantidium, seems to be related to the Atlantid, another name for the Abyss. Not to mention the World of Glass. The corrupted Sentinels and Dissonance Resonators also tied directly into the Abyss's methods of gaining influence and power. However, instead of being relegated to weekend mission dialogue and other text entries, the influence of the Void Mother has been given new form. Technically, this corruption could already be seen throughout the game since launch, but it's now more prevalent than ever, and it gives the impression that Hello Games actually have a game plan moving forward. The codes that the autophages leave us are teasing what's to come, and all of this is wrapped in new content and gameplay. It's a winning combination. So, when I say that Interceptor is exactly the update that No Man's Sky needed, I'm not just talking about the game's need for more combat variety or more exploration opportunities or more ships and multi-tools, all of which it did need, by the way. And I'm not even just talking about needing to pay off all the awesome lore that's been building up for years, which it also needed to do, of course. What I mean is that No Man's Sky needs updates that connect multiple gameplay loops together. No Man's Sky has a lot of features. It has a lot of planets. Heck, it even has a lot of variation, if you know where to look. Its main problem is that players often lack motivation to engage with all of these separate features. Sure, you can cook, right? But why would you? Yeah, you can build up a settlement, but what good does it do you? These gameplay loops exist for their own sake, whereas the new content justifies its existence relative to the rest of the game. Why should you fight a Sentinel freighter? Well, now you can force Sentinel fighters in space to retreat instead of just fleeing. Plus, you can get a new ship out of it. Why would you collect the new Atlantidium? Well, it's required to interact with the autophages, which give you little bits of lore. Why should you visit the new camps? Well, they give you new multi-tools and starships, not to mention other random loot, which can be very useful. And come on, they look super cool. But why attack Dissonance Resonators? Well, besides the fact that the new combat is incredibly engaging, on par if not better than the updated Sentinels, you can gain coordinates to camps and crash to interceptors from fighting them. But then, why would you want an interceptor, you might ask? Well, of course, besides the fact that they look badass and have cool new cockpits, they also come with the ability to hover above the ground, which is pretty neat. And heck, once you get a new interceptor, you'll need to recharge its tech with the materials found on corrupted planets, ensuring that you return to them periodically. It all combines to form one big gameplay loop. You know, intentional game design, which is something that unfortunately has sort of been lacking the last few years prior to 2022. On top of all that though, the planets themselves are also relatively rare, which helps them remain novel by stretching out variation among less planets, which I'm sure explorers will appreciate. However, they're also very accessible, being found in existing systems, and once you land, the new tougher combat is actually optional. You can explore the new camps and salvage the new starships without having to fight if you'd prefer not to. In other words, this update isn't just a one and done kind of deal, and it's not linear content. You don't just play through an expedition and then log out. Just like the new Sentinel types and pillars that affected gameplay on all worlds, just like the new solar ships that now populate the universe, just like the new outlaw space stations that give us new missions and vendors, or the addition of Titan worm nests to infested planets that gives those worlds their own unique gameplay. The additions in the Interceptor update expand upon the game's core gameplay loops in fun and surprising new ways. They fit into the larger game, not just on top of it. I personally believe it's more content like this that will keep No Man's Sky engaging for years to come. In other words, it's exactly what the game needs. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think of the update in the comments below. I know this was a bit of an odd video. To be honest, I wasn't really sure how I wanted to cover this update. There's so many clever but subtle aspects to it that are worth highlighting. However, I had a hard time organizing those thoughts into something coherent. So if you enjoyed my monologue though, please let me know by liking the video or leaving a comment. And tell me what you think of Hello Games' approach to updates over the last year. Yeah, I know Waypoint wasn't flashy and Fractal mostly overhauled VR features, but Sentinel, Outlaws, and Endurance were 3 of my favorite updates, each one expanding core features and addressing long-time player complaints. Interceptor seems to be continuing on this path, and I'm genuinely excited for the game's future in a way I haven't been since like Origins probably. It's really exciting. Anyways, I have a lot of non-YouTube work to do to pay the bills, so I must go, but thanks again for all of your support. I should have another video out within a week of this one, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. You never know what's cooking next, and I don't want you to miss it. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!